BSing with
Who?
BSing with
What?
BSing with Sean K. BSing with
Who?
BSing with
What?
BSing with Sean K. BSing with
Who?
BSing with
What?
BSing with Sean K. BSing with Sean K.
All right, so welcome to BSing with Sean K. I'm your host, Sean Kneese, and on this show, I talk to people from all walks of life pursuing their creative and intellectual passions. And today, my guest is actress Ursula Monteiro,
Yes, Ursula Monteiro.
and she is an actress originally from Brazil, and she recently directed and produced and acted in Val, which a movie that was at the New York International Film Festival. You got a Best Acting debut, and I know in another festival you won Best Directing debut
Yes.
as well. So I guess just elaborate on that and tell us like about yourself and what
No,
you do.
yes, absolutely. I'm from Brazil. I was born and raised in Brazil. I came to New York when I was 18 years old. I came here for college. And then I did a bunch of courses, acting courses. And in college, I started taking classes for directing and writing, and especially like playwriting. And then I started taking screenwriting classes. And I started learning a lot about writing. And I basically discovered another passion that was writing and directing as well, because I majored in directing. And then after graduated, I did a bunch of theater and short films, and then I did a feature as well. And so when the COVID happened, I went back to Brazil, and I had a story in mind, and I decided to take action and just make it happen.
Was the story based off you? Because I know it deals. It's like basically it's a love story, and like the guy's the father of the main character. He was like a criminal, or like he was involved in and then the son's like trying to break away from that, and then the woman like and then her parents don't approve because he's I don't know if I'm giving away the whole plot, but
No,
I'm trying
no,
to
you
just do like
can
a
tell.
general. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I know it deals also with like things going on in Brazil, and it's also a love story.
The story, it's like really about this girl like navigating like during that time in 2020, and she's going through a lot has happened in her life, right? And then she's really just like found herself in the situation that she was living like life in a daily basis, being very like kind of like comfortable but unhappy, and I feel like a lot of people during COVID time felt that way. There were just like, it was a time where you had for yourself to figure it out. It's like, okay, this is the path I'm taking. Do I want to take this path, or do I want to go in a different path? Right. I feel like it was kind of a shock for a lot of people, and a lot of people changed their life path completely. There's a lot of like rebirth that happened. And of course, it happened to be in the moment of tragedy. Right. So the story, as it takes place in Brazil in the beginning of the pandemic. And then there's a lot of real factors that happened. So we talk about like the prisoners escaping prison. And that was in the beginning of 2020. This actually happened in Brazil. And it was crazy because the media just talked about for a week and never talked about it anymore. So that was insane. I never they only talked for a week and never mentioned about what happened. And when I was like doing research, only like 50% of those prisoners was like recaptured. So that's just like a huge amount, and no one talked about it. That's like it didn't click. You know, it was like it was off. You know, it was definitely very off. So I knew I had to include that in my short film. It's like, okay, we need to talk about that. That needs to be in the story. And then
so why didn't they, was there like a reason they didn't talk about that? Was there like something?
I think it was just a lot of information about COVID time.
Okay.
You know, and of course, like news channel, they have to select what they're going to talk about. But this was such a huge information, but also it was kind of weird because really 1,300 prisoners just like escaped and no one's talking about that. Like, that's just bizarre to me, you know? So we never know. We're never going to know like the level of, you know, corrupt like that the country is, because the country, like, you know, it's definitely there's a lot of corruption involved when it comes to government and, you know, especially in Brazil. So we're never going to know. So let's talk about it in our form. And, you know, so I knew I wanted to talk about it in my short film. So then it brings a lot of themes that was like, you know, kind of like this rebirth of someone trying to find out who they are, what they actually want to do in life, and as well as we bring it up abortion, you know, that in Brazil it's like illegal to do abortion, and a lot of girls, especially like under 14 years old girls, die in a daily basis because abortion is legal, and those practices are being operated by people that basically don't know what they're doing, and that's like terrifying, you know. So I knew I wanted to talk about that. And then that's like one of the things I wanted to include in a short story. But yeah, I don't know. Do you have any other questions?
So I guess it was like you wanted to not only be about the two people, but also Brazil itself and like what's going on there and how that.
Yeah. I think like the issues that happens in Brazil, and then like not every Brazilian is aware of that, you know. In the world too, because like of course, like I brought the movie to America, and I want an American audience to watch. So yeah, it's just like for me, it was important to bring the attention to those matters, you know, especially me as a woman. I feel like the need to talk about those things because we're killing us, like we're, you know, by like prohibiting something that will happen, rather if you want it or not, but you can make it safer and make it, you know, you can create a safe environment to make the procedure, or you can create like a very unsafe environment and have the risks of those people, right? Of those women who needs to get it done. So yeah, so the movie brings a lot of different issues and a lot of different themes, and yeah.
And I know you had that in the movie though, like her parents, like the girl, her parents, like they took money from like Brazilian, like they were part of like the corruption with the Brazilian government.
Exactly.
Yeah. And he was involved in the gains, and you were showing like how they both have kind of like.
Yeah, because like, to be honest with you, there's like scandals all the time in my hometown about a corrupt politician that just recently got caught and went to jail. But the problem is they don't go to jail for that long, you know. They go to jail for like a year or two, or not even that, a couple months, and leave, you know, when the actual, you know, and then when it's like real actual criminal, like not real, I mean, I'm saying like yeah, so yeah, the point was to compare that the level of the corruption of those people who are corrupt to the level of the drug dealer who's also as bad, but they're kind of the same level in the way, you know, oh, you're judging someone, but also you're involved in sorry, I'm like thinking in Portuguese,
okay.
in corruption. You know, so it's like, yeah, I wanted to compare that because they're like as bad. I mean, like they steal money from taxes, and then we're like, we have so many people hungry, right? There are so many people that don't even eat, like children that needs to be educated and need to have like a meal at home, and like we don't have that because it's all those like corrupt politicians are just like taking the money, you know, and not like putting back to society, and it's just insane. So, and this girl and the guy, right? Like the guy that she's in love with, like they're both like results of this society. But of course she has the privilege that, you know what I mean, that he doesn't have, but also she went through an abortion, right? Like, so yeah, a lot of things happens. So you guys have to watch it.
Yeah. So she was showing that I guess it's kind of like a patriarchal society, or was that like...
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and is there a lot of is there other like Brazilian filmmakers who like, is this like a common thing? Like, is there a lot of movies that like address these issues, like in Brazil? Or
honestly, I feel like there's not enough movie addressing these issues. No, there's not. Like I never watched a movie about an abortion. I never watched a movie about I mean, like corrupt politicians, yes. There's a lot of series and Netflix, really good series about like, and it's based on true stories about like, you know, the corruption in the government, but about a girl that did an illegal abortion and just trying to like refining herself, you know, who she is. I don't see much. So that's why I wanted to make it done. I wanted to make it happen.
And you developed an interest in acting at 8 while you were living in Brazil. And like, how did that develop? Was there like theater or anything like that around you, or anybody interested in that? Or?
Yeah, no, I did so I started acting since I was 8 years old. I went to a community theater in my hometown, Taubate.
Okay.
And then, so I started my acting career. Oh, well, I wouldn't say acting career, right? Because at the time you're just a child performing in a local theater. But I knew like that was my passion, and that's how that's who I find out who I am, right? And what I wanted to do in this world. It was to pursue storytelling, and I knew this is like something I have to do, and I that's like my goal, my dream, my call. I knew this was my call. So, and it's crazy because I watch so many American movies. So I grew up watching Hollywood movies, right? Yeah. So it's like, it's impossible not having this influence of American movie world, you know? So coming to the United States and pursue an acting career, it's always been my dream. And I feel like I probably got my dream fulfilled by doing that for sure. And I just, I love doing this, and I just want to keep doing it.
And you chose New York, right, instead of LA. Why did you choose New York over LA?
Yeah, I did. To be honest, like I really like theater as well. I came from theater background, so I knew that I wanted to do theater, and then later on I can go to LA. So and also like I was really young, so then we thought like, oh, it'd be a better idea because I was like, I came all all the way by myself. So I knew, not me, but, you know, my parents too, like everybody advised me to come to New York instead of LA because it's just like, it's easier to like get around. There's amazing acting schools here, and it's a great city to be if you're trying to become an actor.
I guess it's easier to get started maybe in New York. I guess like LA, it's kind of
Exactly.
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to get started in New York. And I like do theater as well. I love performing on stage, 100%.
And there's more theater in New York.
I just wish the amount of people that watch your things is going to be the same amount as people that watch your film, you know?
Oh yeah, that's the only, and then it's only there once, then it's,
you know?
It's like
it's just like way harder to get people to go, especially like after COVID. Not like during COVID, like that was impossible, but after COVID, it's like trying to bring all the audience back to theater. It's been hard, you know. It's like things are not back to normal yet, you know, back to what it was before, or even like movie theaters. Like when was the last time you were in the movie theater, right? Like so.
I mean, I live right next to one, so I've been there a couple of times, but
Oh yeah, you do. Yeah. So especially like so many streamings too on television. Of course, like it's a completely different experience, right? But we gotta like, you know, try to go back to what it was before.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's kind of there. Like it's just like a little spread out, but like things feel a little more normal than just like Zoom. Well, I mean, I'm doing this over Zoom, but like not everything's like Zoom.
Yeah, see, we're doing this first.
Yeah.
You adapted, but also it created some sort of like convenience, right, to people. So I was actually talking to a very famous actress the other day, and she was saying like she did this whole theater online via like, you know, like Zoom basically. So that was really cool.
Yeah, well, then anybody like people in other parts of the world and stuff can even join and watch it too, I guess. So.
Yeah, so there's like a lot of live experiences happening. So that was really nice.
Did Brazil like have a certain style of like film or like storytelling that was like different from here? Or was it more just influenced by like I guess Hollywood movies, or like you said, or?
I think, well, we have things that are more relatable to Brazilians, I guess, right? I think everything, it gets pretty, the American influence on the movies is huge. You know, like, of course, we're not making superhero movies or any blockbuster movies that have like so much explosions or anything like that. But there's amazing storytelling movies happening for sure. Like just the other day, I watched Bacurau. It's a really, really good movie that I definitely recommend everybody to watch it.
It's a recent film, or is that?
No, it was I think it was 2017.
Okay.
They won Kanzawa. Sorry. I don't know. The name's just like flew out of my mind. But they won a bunch of awards, and it's a really good movie. It's a really good movie.
Yeah, I saw one like a while ago, but I forget. It was when I was taking like a film class in college, but I forget. They had a kid.
City of God. Have you watched City of God?
I think that was what I saw. Yeah, City of God. Yeah.
It's amazing. It's an amazing film, and amazing. Yeah, and it's really nice knowing that Americans are watching Brazilian movies too, you know, because we never know a movie with the subtitles, like how popular would that movie become. Yeah. And then hearing my American friends say, hey, there's this Brazilian movie. Have you seen it? It's amazing. It's like, oh, nice. You know, it's like, because it's really hard, honestly. Sorry, it's hard to get Americans to watch, subtitle movies.
Oh yeah.
So,
Well, so though Parasite that did really good. I think
oh
recently
yeah,
like Korean
exactly.
movies
So
are kind
that's
of
amazing. That's definitely that's an amazing movie. It's like 100%.
Yeah, but like I'm interested in a lot of like independent film or like foreign film and like ones that are kind of because like sometimes they got more interesting like storytelling because like it's like lower budget and stuff than like the ones with like a lot of special effects and everything. Like sometimes if it's I don't know, sometimes like independent films or whatever like have more interesting like character and stuff. So
yeah, no, 100%. I think independent films like. I mean, I'm a fan of independent films. I'm not a fan of blockbuster at all. Like, I'm not a fan of superhero movies, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Like, not at all. Like, I like independent films for sure. That's like my go-to. That's what I wanted to do. You know why? Because the storytelling needs to be good. That's what it is. If you're getting a movie done without like a limiting budget, like basically a low budget movie or no budget even, the story needs to be good because otherwise you won't get too far.
Yeah. And that can
So
kind of help the imagination go. It's like you have less to work with or you don't have as big a budget. It's like you have to be more creative to get it to work and everything.
And you have to select you have to be very specific what kind of script you're gonna produce, right?
Yeah.
Because the storytelling needs to be very strong.
Yeah, it needs to stand out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But there's but then sometimes there's people who do like the independent style and they get like a little more known doing it. Like the guy who made he made The Wrestler and Requiem for a Dream and all that. I mean, those are more like known films now, but they were definitely like more independent in style.
No, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, even like in Netflix, to be fair with you, like Netflix too, they're creating so many movies that are like completely like low budget and but they did put like big stars, right?
Oh yeah.
So they have to get an audience, they have to get people to come and see it.
But sometimes like when you see like a lesser known actor do a role, you kind of see more the character than like the actor. I don't know. Sometimes that can be a neat experience too. If I just know like the actors, the character, like watching it with like a lesser known. But.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, if you're not gonna put any actors, like celebrities, basically, or like famous actors, you have to have a very strong storytelling. Like you can't be just okay. It needs to be unique. It needs to be original. Like that's just like. And everything else too, it needs to be good, like the production, direction, then you really do, because it is possible. Yeah. It is so possible to be, to become successful, a feature or but it needs to be very strong and it needs to be unique and also it needs to be like, I think, what the world needs, what the world needs now. It's not about just you and your creativity and what you think is creative and your friends or it's like, what is the world needs to hear,
like a statement about you mean like a conscious statement or like a statement about things going on or just like
not a statement about what's going on, but of course, like you have to know what's going on. And because you say like, right, there's like materials that completely like amazing, but doesn't really get too far. But because also like, we don't need that anymore. Like the world shift a lot. So that's why maybe it didn't get any attention. And it's hard, like a lot of things like, I don't know, my web series. Did you had a chance to watch my web series?
I saw some of the sketch comedy you did. And because like Val, you did more dramatic acting and then in the other stuff, it was more comedy. And
And it was interesting because the episodes, right? The episodes that I thought it would be successful, nobody saw it. No, not nobody saw it, but like it wasn't the amount of views wasn't as big as the ones that I definitely didn't think was going to do well. So it is kind of a gamble in a way, you know. The episodes that I was like, oh, there's no way this is the best episode, it got the least amount of views. And the ones that I thought it would do terribly, it did the best. So it's like it's a little bit of a gamble, you know. You can try to use the best formulas, I guess, like as possible, you know, to create a successful feature or TV show. But by the end of the day, like you don't know, like you really don't, like you don't know if it's gonna launch it off or not. It is like completely like a gamble in that way.
Yeah, it was like that with my podcast too. Like sometimes I do episodes like, oh, this is the big one. It's going to have like 500 million views and like it's going to draw like all these people. And then it's like, oh, that didn't really draw much attention. But then there's other ones. They're like, oh, a lot of people are still watching this like a couple of years later. It's like, so.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, right? A couple of years later, people are still watching that older videos that you put in there. Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah, it's but it's like you just have to keep doing it, you know. That's like us as independent artists, as like, you know, we just need to keep doing it, keep putting out there your work. And because like even that little amount of audience that sees it, it's like you're influencing someone, you know. Maybe a creator is watching it, maybe a creator will I want to say copy the idea, but will change the way they see, you know, your film, and like maybe like create something that you kind of like help them to inspire. Like you don't know, right? So it's just important to keep doing it.
Yeah, because like you never know who's inspired. Like I already had two other podcasts that were inspired by this podcast, and they kind of wanted to do a BSing like different people kind of thing too. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's just like sometimes you just have that, you know, thing inside you just want to like do. It's kind of like intuitive, like so, and it's just something you have to enjoy without the necessarily seeing reward right away.
Yeah, 100%. You have to enjoy your path, right?
Yeah. And,
yeah, but that's the thing too about Val. It's like the movie starts with the line saying, one time someone asked me, what would I do if I had one day left to live, right? Because that was like a kind of a question that everybody's like, you know, are we gonna die tomorrow? What's going on? Especially like in the very beginning of the pandemic, where we didn't really know what was happening. Everything's closing down. Like, are we all gonna die from this? This is crazy. What is it? So in people that actually lost others, like I lost a friend and a family member. And this friend that I lost, she was my age. Also Brazilian, came to New York to pursue acting. And it got me thinking, like, oh my gosh, she studied so much. She was preparing herself so much. And now she left this world, and then we don't really see any of her materials, really, you know. Like I was like, oh my gosh, I have to create something. I want people to watch. I want to leave something to this world, you know. I had that feeling like, oh my gosh, if I die tomorrow, what could I be doing now, you know, in case I die tomorrow. So I know it sounds a little too dramatic, but
yeah, I know what you mean, like having a legacy, like something you're leaving behind.
Yeah, I mean, we learn how to normalize that now, but like at the very first time, it was a pretty dramatic, you know, time. So, I knew, I was like, oh wow, I just need to get it to make it happen. I just need to make this movie happen because I want to leave something to this world. That was like became very clear in my head.
And what was it like switching from acting to like writing and directing? What was that experience like?
So see, that's the thing. I used to write so much in college, and I loved it. And my professors also like really, really encouraged me to do that. So it felt very natural, actually, I would say, because I also wrote a bunch of times. The same script. I rewrote it and rewrote it and rewrote it. I probably like 10 drafts, and I was very passionate about it. I mean, of course, I would have changed a lot of things now because, every work you do later on, you're going to look it back and you're like, oh my God, I wish this was different or that was different. But a lot of stuff in my story, I would have changed, switched it around, but it was pretty cool it felt very natural. It felt very, I guess, directing, it was so natural to me because also like that's what I majored in college, and talking to other actors, it felt the most natural thing in the world. Like, you're giving advice, because think about it, like we in the acting classes, we're practicing our scene or, before we show it in class, we're basically directing ourselves, right?
Yeah.
So that was really good.
And acting and directing at the same time. Like I always wondered like how that.
So see,
works,
kind of, yeah. So I would say that before Val, I got into TikTok.
Okay.
So I started creating videos on TikTok, and I started like directing myself a lot. And then I was doing like a lot of them. And then I just got the rhythm of watching myself and knowing the beat and knowing like, oh, just like I just got the I guess the not the skill I would say, but like, comfortability of looking at yourself acting and be able to
like just like getting used to it. Like
yeah. Or change it too, because it's a creative thing, and it's, I mean, of course mine like TikToks are all like more towards like comedy.
No.
So that actually got me going at first. So before so when I started doing the movie, I practiced using my phone. So I brought in my phone to rehearsal and filmed myself during rehearsal, because when I'm like rehearsing with other actors, I have to watch them. I can't be concentrated on myself that much. There's only much I can concentrate because I'm trying to help them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then I'm recording myself, and then I take a break, and then I watch it, what I'm doing, and then from there I can like, okay, now I know what I'm doing wrong, and so I can like correct and give myself direction.
So like correcting before the fact, like before you did the scene, so while you're doing the scene with them, like what you're doing. And
so basically for the film, so all our rehearsals were through Zoom because we're like in the middle of the pandemic, so we wanted to avoid contact. But during the I guess like after like in the web series. So in the web series, I made the rehearsals to be in person, because I feel like the lack of connection on the day of the shooting, and the day of the shooting, it was a little bit of struggle, I was like, okay, rehearsal in person, it would have made a difference, it would have made a difference. And we didn't have much time to shoot, and then that got me a little scared. So I was like, okay, let's make sure, in order for things to run like smoothly, let's meet up at least one time So we get that rehearsal, and I know where we're doing the day of the shooting at least one time. So I don't know. That was like the first your question.
Yeah. So that was like the first like you hadn't really done it too much in person before you actually got to the shooting that you see in the film.
Not for the movie. No, for the movie we just did a Zoom, and it kind of like got me a little scared because like one of the actors, she was doing so amazing on Zoom, and then on the day of the shooting, she was like acting as if she was on stage, and I was like, oh my god, what happened? And then I couldn't recognize her anymore. I was like, why is she acting as if she's on stage? So I was like, okay. And then, I have to pull her on the side, and it's like, okay, let's try to make it small. And like, you start like giving her all the directions. Because, like actors, sometimes they, for some people are hard to translate theater to camera. Yeah. Some actors are really good at switching really quickly, but some needs to like, some is like, it takes a little bit of time. So when there was a shooting, she started acting as if she was on stage. And I was like, because there was like not a bunch of people, there was like at least like 8 people or 9 people there watching her. So maybe she had the need to perform,
Okay. Yeah.
So
that just like helped her feel more comfortable to be more big with it, I guess. Cause like,
she's just like, okay, I'm an actor. Let me perform in front of these people. But you're not performing to the people, you're performing to the camera, and that doesn't take as much of body language. So it was cool, but I think I'm very satisfied with the ending result. She did it. She finally got it, the directions, and then she did well.
Nice. Yeah. I'm kind of the opposite. Like I've done more film stuff, and like I kind of want to do more theater. Like but I've done more like short films or like some voiceover thing. But I guess the only theater I've done is like.
And to be honest with you, sometimes like I even like myself when I'm like shooting film and stuff, and I watch it, and I was like, okay, that was way too small. So I have to change that too.
Yeah, and I feel like with the editing, they can kind of change what the acting conveys at times too. Like the expressions, like I feel like there's a lot that can go, like it could be tidied up more when it's in a film. Like when it's in a play, it's just like live, and that's it.
Yeah, 100%. Well, yeah, but you always want to do your best,
Yeah.
So you facilitate the life of the editor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So. What do you have? Anything planned for the future with this, or is there anything else about your movie or anything else?
Yeah, right now I'm like brainstorming a few ideas. I definitely want to keep going with the web series Nevermind, create more new episodes. But I really, really want to produce something here. Just because I've been 10 years in New York, I have to have like something here. I feel like a little bit of this pressure of having a material or either a short film or a web series. So I'm working on that, on the brainstorming. I'm not sure because I have this like one idea that I can spoil yet, but I don't know if I'm going to make it into a web series or a short film. So we'll see what happens.
Nice. Yeah. And what was like, I don't know if you said like how people here reacted to your film, like, or if it taught them anything, if it gave them some interesting insight to Brazil or like what their
feedback was. It's like information that no one ever thought about it,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of crazy because I think for Americans, they watch that movie and they're like, oh, this really happens in Brazil. And it's like, yeah. And then for Brazilians, they're like, we learn how to normalize like certain things. We learn how to normalize corruption. We did in a way, right? Like we learned how to be like, oh, okay, yeah, that person stole millions, and now he's right there eating dinner with his wife, and it's just like.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's kind of politicians in general, though. But I don't know. But I mean, maybe it's unique in Brazil. Yeah.
But when it comes to countries like Brazil, because there's like, of course, there's corruption here too. But country like Brazil, for instance, like if that's legitimate, like like money that they used to do, that they took it away from the people, you know. So that's like a whole other level of corruption. And then I feel like we learn how to normalize that, and that's just not okay, you know. It's just like, no, they are as bad as, who do you think it's bad in society? Oh, okay, you think drug dealers are bad? Okay, well, let me tell you something. Those corrupt politicians are as bad as drug dealers. So no, it's not. Yes, it is, or even worse.
Yeah, well,
So,
well it's, I guess, yeah, people choose to attack, to punch down or whatever rather than punch up. Like, look at I guess it's easier to put the blame on the people without power. And
without power, exactly. Yeah, exactly. No, that's exactly what it is. So, so the movie wants to break a lot of like taboos, and you know, and challenge people to think. Brazilians, especially. I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't know if people understood the message. Some people did. I think people that went through the pandemic and changed their lives completely, completely took a different path in their lives. I think those people are the ones that most like related to the movie. The people, I guess, that nothing in their life changed, I don't think they got it. So
Okay.
maybe they weren't the right audience then, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So you think like the universal message of it was like the most important thing, rather than just
the
like
people that understand the message is the people that went through that message, or kind of get it. But yeah, I guess like, I mean, you're never going to create something that everybody's going to like it, right? And that's not the point either. Like, you're not, like, how many movies that are like, oh, damn, this is like the worst movie I've ever seen. But you keep thinking about the movie afterwards, like 2 years later, you're like, that movie still like comes in your head because it taught you something. You know, it gave you a message of something. And that's what I wanted. I don't necessarily want people to like my work or like anything that I do when I'm creating film, but I do want to send a message. That's for me what's important. So Val, if I got any message across, if you learned something from watching that, good. Like, you know, that's what I understand from it. Because you see, like my mom, for instance, like my mom loves watching romantic comedy. And I was like, Mom, what are you learning from this movie? It's nothing. She just want to watch something to reassure her values, to reassure the way she thinks about the world. And when you're doing that, you're not learning anything. You're legitimate just relaxing and just like making sure what are you doing, it's okay. And that's not the point of the movie. That's not the point of creating movies as an artist, I believe, at least, you know? So yes, we are here to challenge people, challenge the way they think, challenge the way people will see the world from now on. So that's what, like, mostly. Sorry, I got so like.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, very a lot of passion about that.
I do. Yeah. So because I always get in an argument with my mom about this, because she always want to watch the most like you know, sugar coated movies, and I'm just like, oh my god, no. I want to watch something. It doesn't need to be tragic, but it needs to teach you something, you know.
Yeah. Well, I guess sometimes people need something to kind of just like mindless to relax after the end of the day too, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah. But that's also what's good about like independent film, is a lot of them are like making a statement, and then sometimes like a blockbuster, it's like, all right, let's make another Transformers and have Vin Diesel ride the.
But that's the difference. That's why independent film is different. That's a completely different purpose. You know, what are you watching? You're watching something to just reassure your values, reassure what you've been taught since you're like born, or you're watching something to challenge the way you think, you know, or change the way you see the world. And that's what those blockbusters do. Like, they legitimately just create something to reassure the values and that's why it's so comfortable watching. And don't get me wrong, when I'm in the airplane, like I don't really have much patience to watch. It needs to be entertaining because I'm gonna fall asleep like pretty soon.
Yeah.
So I will put like a blockbuster and an action movie and and sometimes I'm just like, I don't even know what I'm watching right now. Like, but it keeps you like looking at it, right? It grabs your attention because cinematography wise is amazing. So it will grab your attention, and it's cute, like, too. It has its purpose. I can't just say it's bad.
Yeah.
But it's just like different purpose.
Yeah, but you like art more as a way to kind of challenge things more and to get people.
I do. I think as an artist, yes, I think like it's important to create things that will teach a message, that will at least like the American people that watch the movie, they learn about Brazil, like about at least like what happens in Brazil, like when it comes to abortion, what happens to Brazil when it comes to a little bit what just like a little grasp of what happens in Brazil. So that was my goal, legitimate.
Yeah, and then the universal message was about the COVID and.
No, the universal message was about like this girl, like the rebirth of this girl, like finding out who she is in this world and like changing her path completely, taking this as an opportunity to change the way she's living life, because if she's gonna keep on the track where she is, she's gonna just like she's gonna die anyway. So like she's gonna certain things happens I believe like certain things happens in your life that you have no control of, and you have to take that and create something, right?
Yeah.
You get some lemons, create a lemonade, like no. So of course, like COVID was so tragic, it's so horrible and sad, and and it took a lot of people, like it was very tragic moment for a lot of people. So what can you do now, after this thing happened? Like, how do you going to live your life now on after this tragic moment? And that's the message, What can you do now if you have no time tomorrow? And that's what it is. And it goes in details of her life story, what happened to her, why she is where she is. And then it takes her to, okay, that's what she's doing now with her life. So.
No. Yeah, so sometimes you can have a plan, but then something unexpected just changes everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And anything else maybe we didn't cover? Any final thoughts? Or?
No, and then I want to create the web series, I guess like we're talking all about the web series. The web series, Nevermind, it was a break from all the drama. It was a break for, okay, let's laugh, let's like, so I wanted to make sure I hire all the like women and it was like women in production. And it has its purpose to really entertain and laugh about it with the character. I even used my real name to the character. The character name is Ursula. And it was a break from all of that. So I thought it was important to leave the pandemic with a little bit of a positive side.
Yeah. So you kind of wanted to do the opposite of what you were doing with the other film, have something more to kind of relax and.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it has,
what was the comedic part of, because I love comedy. I see humor in a lot of things, and I do see humor in tragedy sometimes too. Like there is a lot of humor in tragedy. Like I do have a very dark humor. I don't know if my humor is like, it's the most, I don't know if it's the most I don't know if anybody can understand my humor. Like, my humor can get dark sometimes, so it's not for everybody. But like I said, nothing you gotta create is gonna be for everybody. So yeah. So I wanted to create the web series, and it was a great time. Yeah, I'm very grateful for everybody that was involved in both projects. It was amazing.
Yeah, and what are some of like the main differences in the experience with like the dramatic versus the comedic for you?
Well, I think it just is so much lighter, when you're creating comedy versus drama,
Yeah.
It's a way lighter on set, the energy on set, and it's just like you, like me, like think about it, like I'm acting, I'm directing, I'm like, so for me, it's like way more fun. It's way more fun. I'm not gonna lie, it's more fun. It's fun, And of course, it's fun creating drama too, but creating comedy is just like, it's a game. It becomes like being part of like an improv, right? Because it's like, it's just and you do so many times different ways, and you can even like there's parts which I used improv, in the acting, because I think it's important, and it is just like, it was a great time too. And a lot of people that worked in Val worked for Nevermind as well. They say like I use the same editor, Eduardo, like he's amazing. So yeah, a lot of people, the same soundtrack guy who composed the soundtrack for Val, and then the web series as well. So yeah, it was great to bring them back to the web series.
So it was kind of it was similar. It had like just the same people behind it, but like different.
Not the same people. Yeah. Not on the production. The production team was completely different. I wanted to give an opportunity for women. Because in Brazil, there's only 17% of women in leading positions for visual arts. So not many women being the director of photography, or, art director, or all these others, or sound director. Like there's not enough women working on those roles. And so I wanted to make sure like it would be a setting of a woman crew. Yeah. Just to give an opportunity to call it out, because of course, like if it's not like, it goes back to the whole challenging. If I'm not challenging anyone, it's like, it's no good.
Yeah.
So to make sure the press was covering that, like woman in production, because that's the thing too. Like Brazilians, like we don't talk as much as is talked in America, right? In America, like there's so much talk about like women in leading positions. It's not enough. It needs to have more and more. In Brazil, like we kind of started talking about it, but it's not as much yet, And it's so important. It's just so important because we see the world in a different way too. Like, right? Every person does. Yeah. So it's important to have different perspectives.
Yeah, like because it can't just be from one like point of view, the storytelling.
Exactly. And I found like a lot of comedy in Brazil was really towards man too. I would watch things and I was like, this is not funny not for women. Like web series and stuff that was being created. I found to be very actually kind of insulting. It's like, oh, okay. I guess it's funny for men because men care about those things. I don't care about those things. So why am I even watching that? So I wanted to make sure, like, okay, I wanted the director of photography definitely be a woman. And so capture aesthetically wise the feeling of what the scripts are trying to say, the messages of the script, Mm-hmm. That for me was very important. And then, yeah.
Nice.
And then it was a great time. It was amazing working with all of them, and It was amazing. It was amazing time. I'm very grateful to be able to I guess do those things.
And in Brazil, was like the different expectations for you, like as a woman, than like going the route you went? Like, were you going against like a route you were expected to take?
Yeah, I would say there's not enough. I guess like you see a lot of like people that are famous already producing their things, you know, acting, directing, and producing, but I don't see many low budget like web series or I don't see many now of women doing it and making it happen, just because it also involves money, right? And the dollar was, I mean, I financed my own movie and my own web series because I couldn't wait to raise money or anything. I was just like, I'm just gonna pay, but also because the dollar was was like a lot more valuable in comparison to the currency exchange. So when the dollar went to, it used to be, so when I came to the United States, it used to be like $2 per, no, okay, so 2 reais was $1. Now it's like 6 reais is $1. So that really helped, you know, that really helped to hire people and created a team and have all those roles in the productions being covered.
Is there anything you do differently, like in the future? Anything you learned, maybe that you?
Oh my God, there's so much I learned. so much. So much. And it's crazy because I'm taking a class now too for like a production, and a lot of things is covering it up. I was like, I had to learn on the, like, I guess like you really do learn by doing it, you know, you really do. A lot of things is like, oh yeah, I had that experience and I learned that. So it's like, it's pretty cool. I learned I mean, there's so much things I learned in terms of just be a leader, you know, like on your own project. When is the time to listen to other people? When is the time to put your feet on the floor and be like, no, things are going to be running this way. Oh, no, it's impossible. No, it's not impossible. We're going to have to figure it out then. So think with me. Let's figure this out.
Yeah.
Like, right? Because otherwise, like it also like selecting the right people for the project is the most like important thing too. You know, people that are as passionate as you are, you know, to your story. Because if someone is just doing that because they're getting paid, like that's not going to become a good result. Like you have to make them passionate, especially when it's a small budget, you know.
Yeah. Like
they have to be as passionate as you are. I mean, you have to try, you know.
Yeah, they have to feel like they're part of something. Like,
yeah. You have to feed them well, like, you know, they have to eat well, because no one's gonna work well if you're not like set, like, you know, in the best way they can. Like, so you really have to just bring the enthusiasm of all of them up and make sure everybody's happy, making sure like everything is running smoothly and people love what they're doing, and just being able to, you have to make them happy too, because like it's so important in production to have all those, every element click and become amazing work, right? So
yeah. Any final thoughts or things you'd like to say?
I don't have it yet. Maybe for the next show.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it'll be a cliffhanger, like to be continued. Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on. Is there a place where people can keep updated with everything you're doing?
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Oh yeah, no problem. And where can people keep updated with, like, if people want to keep updated with like your film or anything you're working on?
Oh, how? Oh, in my channel, Ursula Monteiro, on YouTube. Just like search me.
All right, cool.
Or you can, I mean, I guess you can follow me on Instagram, but I would say my YouTube channel is like where I'm going to put most of my work.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, thanks for coming on, and definitely insightful talk about your work and also a lot of other things as well.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. And if you want to listen to future episodes of BSing with Sean K, I'm on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts. And that's about it for this episode. I'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you so much, Sean.
BSing with
Who?
BSing with
What?
BSing with Sean K. BSing